I'm out here. It's been raining. I'm just looking around at the garden, and I need to dig up my mulberry tree and move it. Mulberry tree is too close to this Barbados cherry, I think. And that rose, and I really don't, it's kind of ugly, so I really don't want it in the front. So I'm going to dig it up and put it in the back. And then I'm going to move that rose like right there. So I dig this up here. I think that looks a lot better with the mulberry gone and the rose there instead. And then where the rose was, I put another banana plant. Really nice, I think, in between the cannas. Mulberry I will keep over here. I think it will look much nicer kind of tucked away back here. Back here is doing pretty nice. The tomatoes here are doing okay. Here I harvested the corn and laid the stalks on the ground just to protect it from the sun until all the peanuts come up. Okra here that I want to transplant. I'm going to stick it in with my squash and my cucumbers, that way when they die then the okra can take over the pot. Ladybug in that corn there. There's probably aphids or something in there, something that it wants to eat. Eat them up, eat them up. I'm also going to plant these shallots I got from the store. Got them about a month ago, a little over a month, because I've kept them in the fridge for about a month and a half, just to mimic winter, since I don't have any cold enough winter, I guess. I'm going to try to grow them. I'm going to plant these and then this okra. We plant them back here where it's a little more shady half the day. Probably just along right here. I'm only planting 6 of them. I'm going to try not to bury them too deep. I'm just going to put them here. Leave a little bit of the top exposed. Like that. There, I think that'll do pretty well right there. Now in like a month or so, when it gets too hot and humid for this squash, this okra can take over. One in here with this banana squash, which I don't know if it's going to do anything. Keeps trying, but then kind of dies off. We'll see. Looks like it tried to make a squash there, but it's not doing so well, and looks like snails are getting it. I also put a few over here in this garden bed. Put one right there, another one over there by that watermelon. Harvest these beans along with a bunch of other beans that I see growing. And cucumbers, these are medium ones here. One is the one that Bees and Seeds sent me seeds for, I can't remember the name of. I'll have to look it up. Little pickle bush one here. It's making some. I should harvest these. One down here. Because they don't really get much bigger, I don't think, than this. And I need to get these beans over here and make something with some of these beans. All these beans here that I harvested, I'm going to go ahead and snap off the ends of them and clean them up, and I'll be right back. I have the beans all snapped and cleaned up and ready to go. Over here I have some potatoes that I chopped into roughly about the same size. I have some onions over here that I chopped up. I have some bacon and some chicken broth. I got the lower sodium bacon here and the reduced sodium chicken broth just because if I want it to be saltier, I can add salt at the end. But if it's too salty, it's too salty. So I'm going to go ahead and cook up some of this bacon here. I'm only going to use about half this bacon. What I'm going to do is just chop it into little pieces, and then I'm going to cook it in here. I'm just going to cook the fat out of this bacon. I don't really need to cook it until it's really crispy because it's going to go back in and cook in chicken broth. This is cooked enough. I'm going to go ahead and take these out of here. You see, it doesn't need to be real crispy because it's going to go back in the pot toward the end of cooking, and it won't be crispy even if you make it crispy after that anyway. So I have the bacon set aside, and I'm going to use the fat that I got off the bacon to fry the onions here. I'm just going to stir these around and fry them a little bit. And then I will dump in some broth. Pour some of the chicken broth in here, just to get everything unstuck from the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add the potatoes and the beans now. Pour in the rest of the broth here. It'll probably take both of these containers. Bring this up to a boil here. Now that my bacon has cooled, I have separated the fatty parts from the meaty parts. And I'm doing that because the fatty part I'm going to add to the beans and the potatoes and cook the whole time with it. If I did that with the meaty parts here, the texture becomes very, very weird. So I put it in just at the end, just so the texture and the flavor isn't ruined. But this part here I'm going to add now because I want all that flavor to cook with the beans and the potatoes for a long time. So I'm just going to stir this in here. You can see the purple beans are turning green. When you cook them, they turn green and look just like all the other green beans. I'm going to go ahead and cover it and turn it down to low. I'll be back in an hour or so and show you what it's like. It's been cooking for about an hour and a half. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the bacon in here. Stir this in. Let it cook for about another 45 minutes. It's been about 4.5 hours. I'd say it's definitely done. It looks great. Smells really, really good. You want it to be cooked really nice and the beans to be nice and soft and full of flavor. Boil some corn here and I'll be right back. I have my potatoes, bacon, and beans here. There's some corn that I harvested and a little piece of cornbread. Go ahead and try some of this here. Oh, that's nice. Don't want to make too much of a mess. Little things for the corn. Let's go corn. That was great. I hope everyone has a wonderful time. Bye.